Today's lecture will be on the classification of the muscle tissue. There are three histological types of muscles in the human body. We have the skeletal muscle fiber, the cardiac muscle tissue, and the smooth muscle tissue. Each one of these will briefly describe the structure, function, and general location of each. The first one that we'll be discussing is the skeletal muscle tissue. The skeletal muscle fibers are long, they're cylindrical, they're striated, parallel, and unbranched. The fibers are multinucleated with the nuclei located closer to the periphery. They are also considered to be a striated voluntary muscle, which means that they do not contract unless stimulated by a nerve impulse. The next one we see is going to be the cardiac muscle tissue. When we're looking at the slide, we can see that the cells are short, they're bifurcated, which means that they split. They're striated in nature, where we can see the striations throughout the cardiac muscle tissue, with two or more centrally located nuclei. They're also divided by a structure called an intercalated disc. And these intercalated discs, their membranes are locked together by desmosomes and gap junctions, which allows for ion movements to rapidly cross over to another cell. This promotes rapid transport of electrical activity throughout the entire cardiac muscle tissue. Each one of these cardiac muscle cells are also known as a cardiocyte. They have essentially positioned nuclei, so this would be one cardiocyte. And the cardiocytes, the cardiac muscle is responsible for rhythmic involuntary contractions. This is also known as a pacemaker cell, which means that it establishes a regular rate of contraction for the heart. The next one is going to be a smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissues, when we look at the structure, they're spindle-shaped. So we can see here in this illustration that the smooth muscle tissues are spindle-shaped. They're short. They are not striated, so as we saw in the skeletal muscle tissue and the cardiac muscle tissue, we do not see any striations in each of the smooth muscle cells. And they contain only one centrally located nucleus. They are involuntary in nature, so these non-striated involuntary muscles means that the nervous system does not have control of their contractions. We regularly see these, for instance, in the internal organs of the digestive system, specifically the intestines. And finally, we have the nervous system, or nervous tissue. There's two types of cells when we're looking at the nervous system. The first one are neurons or nerve cells. That's what this picture is representing. These neurons or nerve cells are specialized to detect stimuli, process information, and rapidly transmit electrical impulses from one region of the body to another. The other type of nervous tissue that we see are called glial cells, or supporting cells that support, protect, and provide a framework for these working neurons. When we see neurons, they have specific parts. So the first one we're going to be discussing is going to be the dendrite. And the job of the dendrite is to receive information from other neurons. That information will be processed through the cell body, also called the soma. And the soma houses a nucleus and all the organelles necessary for proper function of the nervous tissue. And finally, After the information is processed from the cell body, it will be conducted outgoing information to other cells through the axon. And that concludes our lecture. Thank you.